Wake up, Toronto. But if you stayed up all night for work or studying, then you're probably still in dreamland and will catch this broadcast a little later on. Speaking of staying awake, there are two types of people. You've probably heard of the reference, an early bird gets the worm, or the night owl. And most people fit into one category more than the other. Basically, for night owls, they are more productive during the evening because of something called their chronotypes, which is a behavioral template that determines their internal clock and rhythms. We humans have a sleep-wake cycle. Now, some wake during the day and sleep at night, while others do the opposite, which means they're a blood-sucking vampire. I'm kidding. But these night owls often thrive after dark and really struggle to wake up at sunrise, and they require probably several alarms and notifications to get them alert and moving. A recent study says 1/3 of the population doesn't have a determined chronotype, meaning they don't fall strongly in the categories of night owl or early bird. But at least 30% are night owls. A lot of these individuals who find themselves staying up much late into the night are creative. And compared to the early birds, they have more mental stamina, which can be beneficial to their line of work. For example, a lot of these people are focused and highly, concentrated in the fine arts industry, meaning they're painters, writers, musicians, recording artists, choreographers, directors, etc. And in that space, they find a lot of success in their career when they have that option to stay awake at night to get their work done. But there are some drawbacks for those night owls. Many are unable to productively work in a corporate setting, which is the standard 9 to 5 kind of jobs, because it doesn't align with their nightlife. And then they are also at a higher risk of health issues like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, addictive behaviors such as alcohol, drugs, and sex. And then they can also suffer from chronic sleep deprivation. Now, not to scare you night owls from doing what you love, but when it comes to staying up all night, there are cons, just as there is with everything else. So use to your discretion. Sometimes if you feel like you need to sleep at night and change it around, go for it. Let's talk early birds. Now, these guys tend to be active during the day, and some even begin by exercising, which can help them sleep better at night. They're also very punctual compared to the night owls, and they thrive in corporate environments. They're also at lower risk of health issues, including mental health, such as schizophrenia and depression, and some even benefit by wearing active tracking watches. The only drawback for early birds is probably experiencing fatigue during the daytime and losing energy quite early in the evening. So sometimes these early birds might rely on caffeinated drinks or something to give them that extra boost so they can push through the rest of the day right up until bedtime. So which category do you fit in, or are you a little bit of both? Let me know in the comment section below. For me, let's see, it depends on the situation, but I do prefer waking up in the mornings, and that's also because my husband is a morning person as well. Our call time is somewhere between 5 o'clock and 5:30 a.m. and that's where we begin our routine, especially if I have like a ginormous checklist of errands to run before work and after work. I do begin the day with coffee, and definitely around 2 o'clock-ish, I need a pick-me-up to boost my energy levels. But I also get pretty exhausted by 9:30 p.m. Like, I have to be showered and ready for bed, and that is when I disconnect all social interactions, and turn off notifications on my apps. Having said that, when I am creating content, I actually do function the best at night. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and jot down an idea or a thought in my notebook that I keep tucked near my bedside. Yeah, I'm weird, whatever. And there are other times where certain projects require me and my attention in the evening, so I guess it's all about adapting and changing my sleep cycle. And it never gets easy, definitely tough. And I guess it's, similar to what it feels like, after a long summer of staying up late nights when kids wake up super early for the first day of school and they're exhausted and annoyed. But also I have massive respect for those doctors and nurses and anyone actually who is on, shift or rotational work. It's super difficult, and I don't know how you guys do it because I lose my mind sometimes when I have to switch between the two. Alright guys, it's story time, and I just realized as we transition into the next segment, it's very similar, or I guess a build-up to what we just spoke about, the early bird versus the night owl. And I think I mentioned that I'm more of an early bird. Now, before I even make my morning coffee, because I do have a routine, and then I get to my checklist, there's like a preliminary checklist because my usual checklist day to day always changes, right? It's not always the same, but the preliminary checklist is one that is set in stone for the most part. But this one in particular, I do this thing. I don't know why I'm sounding so private about it, but I do this thing. It's a seasonal thing. So it's during the summers, but it's like I go outside before I even drink my coffee and I water the plants and flowers. Because I've had some really bad luck in the past where it wilted away, and it's just bad timing on my part. But I noticed that if I water them before sunrise, before the heat gets to it, it thrives and it grows and it blooms and it's just so beautiful. So basically that is what I do in the mornings. I go out, water the garden, water the lawn, fill up the bird bath, and then I come inside, and by that time my coffee has brewed and I sit down, sip it, and I go through my checklist, get up to date with what's going on in world news and local news, and then I just, carry on with my plan. Okay, so this morning was the typical kind, and I was doing my preliminary schedule or checklist, what have you. And so I packed my husband's lunch, and while he was getting dressed, I went outside. And it was still very dark, around like 5:30. And sunrise now, because we are in September and it's getting a bit cooler, sunrise happens closer to 6 a.m. So I was there in the darkness. I put the porch light on, but still it was not that bright. And I was making sure no one snuck up on me. Turn around every now and then. A couple cars also went by. I was just replenishing my garden, and then my attention shifted to the house across the street, and in the window there were a few faces, and I sort of jolted back because it caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that, and it was a bit creepy as well. But then I realized real quick that, is it because of me? Am I being too noisy? But I don't believe that was the reason. I mean, it just sounded like rain falling. I had it on the shower mode, and on my side of the street, actually, a few houses down from me, people were actually going outside and putting out their bins because it was garbage day. So they were making actually more noise dragging the cans on the wheel than me watering the plants. But I also thought maybe they looked at the forecast and they were thinking, it's not supposed to rain today, and so they looked outside. Or I'm perhaps thinking too much about this and they were just, seeing what kind of day it was and doing their own morning routines. I think also what would be like noise complaint worthy is construction workers who are drilling that early in the morning can definitely rub people the wrong way. I've been there and I've heard that, and it's not fun, especially if you're trying to get, maybe a half an hour more worth of sleep. So yeah, that's a noise complaint worthy for sure. But this wasn't that bad, and 5 minutes later I came inside, and then it got me thinking. Have you ever been in a situation or situations where you are up and about, ready to start your day, and whether you're in the kitchen or some part of the house, but there's someone still deep in their slumber, and you're trying to be extra careful, quiet, and considerate so you don't disrupt their sleep and have them be mad at you for the remainder of the day. And so you tiptoe around, but you just make noise accidentally, and you're embarrassed, and you wake them up, or you can't get half the stuff you want done because you're waiting for Sleeping Beauty to awaken. I think it comes down to what you want in life, and if you want to be a little bit selfish and get ahead while still keeping the volume low and not being too loud, everything at a minimal, or you're willing to wait it out until that person wakes up. But I can tell you this, I have someone in my life that didn't give a crap if they were disturbing us or not, and that is my mother, and I think most parents can vouch for that. But when our parents are asleep, we tried to play with our toys or watch TV and not wake them up, because that would definitely, give us some grounding time or punishment or something. But when it came to us, especially my mother, sorry mom, but when she was washing the dishes, I don't know if she was angry, it sounded like she was breaking the plates, but that amount of clanking, nobody could drift back to sleep. And she would also blast bhajans, which are like Indian godly hymns and mantras. Like these songs would be like blaring, like when you would listen to a boombox and it was just that much bass. So that alone would just make you roll out of bed. And I know that was her tactic to get us up and assist her in the cleaning part. So our summers were dedicated to that. She gave us a little bit of break during, school. Not just that, she would vacuum when we would try to take naps. And I think her reasoning behind it was she wanted to spend more time with us, and that was her way. But I'm just going to say this much. I'm definitely using this technique on my future children. I think that will be a great bonding sort of thing. And I guess to keep a little bit of discipline in place, it worked on us. You know what? But maybe I might just call the source. I'll just have my mom come and do it. It was effective on us, and definitely I think she'll have a hold on my future